Inside Out, looking after Riley. When a little girl called Riley was born, an emotion named joy took control inside Riley's mind. Joy was in charge of a console in headquarters, and she kept Riley happy. A golden sphere rolled into headquarters, and Joy picked it up. This was Riley's first memory, and it showed her as a baby. It was golden because it was a happy memory. As Riley grew older, Joy was joined by four more emotions. Fear helped to keep Riley safe. Once he stopped her from tripping over a power cable. Disgust kept Riley away from things that looked funny, smelled or tasted funny, like broccoli. Anger cared very deeply about things being fair for Riley. When anger was in charge of the console, Riley had a tantrum. Finally, there was sadness. Like all the emotions, she wanted to help Riley, but Joy wanted Riley to be happy all the time. How could sadness help? When something important happened to Riley, a core memory was created. There were 5 core memories, and each one powered an island of personality. Riley had 5 islands: goofball, friendship, hockey, honesty, and family. When Riley was 11, her mum and dad announced that they were moving from their hometown in Minnesota to San Francisco. The emotions panicked. How would Riley feel about leaving her home and all her friends? After a long car journey, Riley looked up at her new home. The emotions were speechless. The house looked old and dreary. Joy was determined to keep Riley happy. She drew a circle on the floor around sadness. "This is the circle of sadness," Joy told her. "Your job is to make sure that all the sadness stays inside it." On her first day at her new school, Riley had to stand up and tell the class about herself. She began to share a happy memory about playing hockey. But suddenly her smile faded. "You've left the circle," Joy said to sadness. "You've touched the hockey memory sphere and turned it blue." In class, Riley started to cry, creating the first ever blue core memory. Joy was furious. She pressed a button and a tube began to suck away the blue sphere. But the tube also sucked up the other 5 core memories, as well as joy and sadness. Joy and sadness were dumped far away in Riley's mind, but they managed to find their way to Goofball Island. Like all the islands, it was dark. "We need to get back to headquarters," said Joy, "so that these core memories can bring power back to the islands of personality." Clutching the 5 memories, Joy began to tiptoe across the light line that led to headquarters. "But what if we fall into the memory dump?" said Sadness. "We'll be forgotten forever." "We won't fall," said Joy. "Just think positive." Back in headquarters, fear, disgust, and anger were struggling to look after Riley on their own. When anger took control of the console, Riley became cross with her dad. When she refused to goof around with him, Goofball Island began to crumble. "Run!" Joy shouted to Sadness. They made it to safety just before the island toppled into the memory dump. Anger was still driving the console as Riley chatted to her old friend Meg on her laptop. Meg told Riley about a new girl on the hockey team. Riley missed playing hockey with her old friends, so the news made her angry. She slammed her laptop shut. Inside her mind, Joy and Sadness watched in horror as Friendship Island disappeared into the dump. "Goodbye, friendship. Hello, loneliness," said Sadness. A little while later, Joy and Sadness were walking through long-term memory, where millions and millions of memories were stored on shelves. They bumped into a funny-looking pink creature with legs like a cat and a trunk like an elephant. "Bing bong," said Joy excitedly. "You were Riley's imaginary friend." Bing Bong decided to travel to headquarters with the 2 emotions. He danced around happily and gave his bag to Joy to help her carry the core memories. Bing Bong led Sadness to Imagination Land. From there, they hoped to catch the train of thought back to headquarters. Imagination Land was an amazing place. There was a French fry town, a cloud town, and an imaginary boyfriend generator. Bing Bong even found his old song-powered rocket wagon. but some mind workers threw it into the memory dump. As Bing Bong cried sweets, Sadness talked to him about how he felt. Joy was surprised. Sadness helped Bing Bong feel better. Meanwhile, at headquarters, Anger decided that Riley should run away, back to Minnesota. As he plugs an idea bulb into the console, the idea popped into Riley's head. At that moment, Joy and Sadness were on the train of thought. They found a memory sphere they both loved. Sadness remembered Riley being sad because she'd lost a hockey match. Joy loved it when the whole team had cheered Riley up. Later, Riley began planning to run away. Without asking, she took a credit card from Mum's handbag so that she could buy a bus ticket to Minnesota. Riley's dishonesty caused Honesty Island to collapse. As it crumbled, Joy, Sadness, and Bing Bong were thrown from the train. Soon afterwards, Family Island also began to crumble. Joy fell asleep fell deep down into the memory dump. At that moment, Riley was heading to the bus station, feeling nothing. Down in the dump, Joy felt hopeless. She looked again at the hockey memory sphere that she and Sadness had found on the train. Suddenly, Joy realized that Sadness was important. Riley's friends had come to help because she was sad. Just then, Bing Bong appeared. The pair decided to fly out of the memory dump in Bing Bong's rocket wagon. They sang loudly to power the rocket, but each time they flew up, they couldn't quite reach the top of the cliff. When they gave it one last try, Bing Bong jumped out without Joy noticing. Now the wagon was light enough, and Joy flew up to the cliff top. When she looked back, she saw Bing Bong waving to her from the dump far below. Joy spotted Sadness floating away on a cloud. "I only make everything worse," Sadness was saying. Joy had to reach her. Using the imaginary boyfriend generator, she made a tall tower of boyfriends. Joy climbed up it and swung towards Sadness. "Gotcha!" Joy cried as she grabbed her in midair. "Hang on!" The two flew through the air towards headquarters. Joy was still clutching the bag of core memories. Back in headquarters, fear, disgust, and anger were relieved to see the two emotions return. Joy let Sadness take control of the console. On the bus, Riley suddenly felt very sad. "Wait!" she called to the driver. "I want to get off!" When Riley arrived back at home, her mind filled with memories of her old friends and her old home. She began to cry. Her memories made her feel sad because Joy had given all the golden core memories to Sadness. The spheres had turned blue. Riley told her parents how she felt, and they gave her a big hug. She began to feel better. A few days later, the islands of personality had reappeared. Joy, Sadness, Anger, Fear, and Disgust were excited about the future. After all, Riley was 12 now. What could happen? If you'd like to read more with us, we've got plenty more books we'd love to share with you, and hit subscribe below. Thank you.